Now, they may not have the option of exploring the multiverse anymore, but the Flash writers did manage to spend a decent portion of the show's 6th season exploring some of the more interesting changes the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover made to Barry and friends' little slice of their new world. Case in point, the updated history between Barry and Hartley Rathaway, who's still the villainous Pied Piper post-Crisis, as seen in the 18th episode titled Pay the Piper. After Barry mentioned wanting to reach out to Hartley to see if he'd be willing to help take down the latest version of Godspeed running around Central City, Cisco flashbacked everybody to the post-Crisis version of Barry's bridge fight with Hartley from the Season 1 episode, The Sound and the Fury. Most of it was the same, Hartley knocking cars off the bridge, Barry catching people, things like that. The difference this time around is that after Barry was attacked by Hartley's right-hand man, Roderick Smith, he chucked a bolt of lightning at Roderick in order to defend himself, destabilizing his molecules and yada yada yada, usual Flash pseudoscience mumbo jumbo. But so what, right? I mean, Hartley had a few henchmen this time around, why is that a big deal? Well, because of this. Just in case you don't remember, Barry didn't actually learn that technique till the Season 2 episode Flash of Two Worlds, when Zoom, impersonating Jay Garrick, taught Barry how to do it so he could fight the Earth 2 villain Sand Demon.
Jay, how do I stop somebody who can slip through my fingers?
The way I was never able to. With lightning.
I mean, winding up with some extra kids is one thing, but this is a huge timeline change, both implying that post-Crisis Barry never ran back in time to get the speed equation from Eobard Thawne, and outright proving that something else had to happen to force him to learn lightning throws earlier than normal. Hartley at least we can kinda handwave away, like maybe post-Crisis Barry didn't start babbling about the future to Cisco, but who taught him how to throw his Speed Force lightning this time around? Well, the way I see it, there's really only 3 ways this could have worked out. Either Zoom still taught Barry how to do it at some point, meaning the original fight with Hartley happened sometime later than it originally did pre-Crisis, or Zoom joined Team Flash as fake Jay Garrick earlier than he did before, Barry taught himself at some random point before the events of The Sound and the Fury, or Thawne taught Barry how to do it as part of his Season 1 training. Let's start with theory number 1, the idea that Barry's post-Crisis history played out more or less the same as it did the first time around, and Zoom still taught him how to throw lightning as part of his plan to get Barry as fast as possible. Now, whether or not the fight with Hartley happened in Season 2 this time around, this one honestly sounds the most reasonable out of the 3 theories I mentioned earlier, right? I mean, we know from Cisco's timeline that a lot of things in this new universe did happen more or less the same as they did pre-Crisis. I did a video on it a while back, feel free to check it out. So considering how we know Zoom existed on Earth Prime, I don't see any reason why he couldn't have still latched onto Team Flash and taught Barry a few new tricks like he did before. And like I mentioned earlier, some basic things did end up getting changed here and there, like Hartley's history with Team Flash and the origin of Zoom's powers, for example. So it's not like certain fights or villains couldn't have made their first appearances in later episodes, right? I mean, if the Legends can get together a whole year earlier, then you'd think one Flash bad guy can show up in a later season. Plus, showing up later would give Hartley plenty of time to start seeing someone, hire a couple extra goons, and design and build all of them weapons before he faced Barry on that bridge. So maybe waiting a bit to start terrorizing Harrison Wells does make a bit more sense when you think about it. Or does it? See, this theory seems pretty much airtight, at least until you remember we saw this suit in Cisco's flashback. Notice anything in particular? Yep, that's right. The Flash suit in the flashback has Season 1's Red Lightning logo on it, implying that the fight still took place like 5 years ago or whatever during Season 1 like in the pre-Crisis timeline. So what about Zoom, you may ask? Well, come on, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Even if he did show up earlier than before, which obviously didn't happen since Cisco's timeline proves he didn't get his powers till after Eobard got erased, do you really think the Reverse Flash would run the risk of letting somebody he doesn't know, especially another crazy speedster, join up with Team Flash and find out what all he's really up to? No! So, okay fine, maybe Zoom didn't teach Barry how to throw lightning this time. That leads us to theory number 2, where Barry got off his ass, unprompted by any hallway pep talks or hand-holding from Iris or anybody on Team Flash, went out and experimented with his powers in his spare time like literally anybody else would in his situation, and managed to teach himself a few new tricks to take out some supervillains in the process. Just like any competent hero would.
You serious?
Okay, yeah, even I can't sell that one too well. But seriously though, it's not like it's impossible for any superhero, including speedsters, to run around and try out their powers and learn a few things, right? I mean, we have seen Barry using his powers out and about in Season 1 after all, so it's not like it's a huge jump for him to suddenly try doing some new things with them. If Eobard, Jay, Fake Jay, Flashpoint Wally, Godspeed, Accelerated Man, and probably a ton more speedsters in the pre-Crisis multiverse could figure out how to use their powers just fine,
whoa. What?
Then I'm fairly certain an updated version of our boy here could do the same thing. Hell, even some of those speedsters, like the Rival, managed to learn how to throw lightning just fine without a team to help him through it, so why couldn't post-Crisis Barry show some initiative and learn a few tricks on his own? Well, because of one simple reason. Barry. Look, I don't care how different the timeline is, how many Earths got destroyed and stitched back together, this dude is still the same Barry we've been watching since 2014, more or less. He clearly still had Team Flash working with him, hence the fact that he got his powers in 2014 rather than 2020, meaning Thawne must have still influenced the timeline like he did pre-Crisis and got Team Flash together in the first place. Basically, I'm saying the universe may be different, but all the hand-holding sure wasn't.
I don't think that you can go more than 9 hours without some sappy motivational speech. I'm not doing this.
Plus, this is back in Season 1, when Barry was still a major noob to the whole speedster game. I don't care how much training he does on his own, there's no way somebody of his skill level at that time is learning anything as involved as throwing lightning on his own. Especially when he didn't start throwing lightning while standing still till this season, after tons of training and absorbing Speed Force energy. So okay, if Zoom wasn't around to teach him any earlier, and Barry clearly couldn't figure it out himself, then who else could have taught him how to throw lightning? Well, let's see, what other speedsters have been on this show? How about this one? Yeah, he seems like a good fit. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely possible that he managed to get Barry to throw lightning at some point in Season 1. Could have even taught him how to do it in that Pied Piper episode, who knows? I mean, regardless of when he trained Barry how to throw lightning, the evidence is already there. We know Eobard was knee-deep in Barry's training post-Crisis, just like he was last time. Can't have a singularity if there's no reason to travel through time, right? Plus, he had a reason to get Barry fast enough to do something like throwing lightning, and we already covered how the other two main suspects wouldn't or couldn't do it. So who else is there to teach Barry this stuff? The Pep Talk crew? None of those guys knew how the speedster powers worked back then. I mean, look over the first season. Most of the new techniques Barry learned in those first 10, 11 episodes was either suggestion or inspiration from Dr. Wells. So unless one of these guys suddenly became a speedster genius in the post-Crisis world, then I think it's a safe bet that Eobard's our guy here. Now, as for why he decided to train Barry how to do it, well, that part's really up for debate, isn't it? I mean, it's not like Barry couldn't do it before Season 2. He just didn't know how to. Plus, he had plenty of moments in Season 1 when throwing lightning could have been a useful move. Like maybe Thawne wanted him to have an easier time taking out energy weapons, or knocking out Tony Woodward, or even feeding Blackout's power craving from a distance so he didn't lose his speed. Regardless of the specific instance though, throwing lightning, especially gathering up enough energy for a lightning bolt while standing still means post-Crisis Barry would have had to have gone through a way different, possibly way tougher, training regimen than he did pre-Crisis. And who knows, maybe the fact that Barry learned how to throw lightning so early is a sign of another change Crisis made to the timeline. Remember how it originally took Barry about 17 episodes to figure out Thawne's real identity? And even then it was only because he slipped up and started babbling about the Speed Force?
The way that he described my being the Flash, it's like he was talking from experience. I don't know how, but he's the man in yellow.
I mean, if he was smart enough to realize Harrison Wells was teaching him stuff based on personal experience because of one little speech, then what do you think is going to happen when Wells tries explaining to him how to let Speed Force lightning flow over him, or whatever it was Zoom was talking about during their training sessions?
Let the energy pass over you, then simply direct it to where you want it to go.
Basically what I'm saying is, if Thawne taught Barry how to throw lightning in the earlier days of Season 1, then maybe Team Flash managed to start putting the pieces together either in The Sound and the Fury, or in the previous episode, Revenge of the Rogues, 6 or 7 episodes before Barry originally figured it all out. I mean, Eobard still ended up getting erased in 2015, so clearly not a whole lot changed, but I am curious to see whether or not he had more fights with Team Flash in between when he got caught versus when he got erased. It's an interesting thought, and I'm really hoping Eric Wallace decides to show some more post-Crisis versions of Barry's early days as a speedster. It'd be cool to see what else he could do or what kind of situations he got himself into, right? But anyways guys, that's my take on when Barry learned to throw lightning in the new post-Crisis timeline of The Flash. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.